Let's talk about why you build a shed house or a barndominium. As of 2024, in the time of this recording, your average residential home can cost anywhere from 150 to 200 a square foot and up from there, depending on fancy details and fancy trim and things like that. So with less and less labor available out there to work with, and fewer and fewer people going into the trades, it's getting really hard to find good contractors, good builders to build you a home. And the price is certainly not going down. We met our friend Terry as a snowbird down in Arizona about 5 years ago. And when the opportunity arose to help her with the construction of her new home with Terry on this whole project. So here's Terry.
And I live in Kalispell, Montana. And my sister and I and daughter used to own a restaurant out in Woods Bay. And our parents had a house in Kalispell. When I retired, both of my parents sadly passed away the year before I got to retire, and I bought their house out of their estate. So I moved over here to Kalispell, and we got the restaurant and worked together for 15 years and stuff like that. And after we sold the restaurant, I got on the road and started trying to be a nomad, kind of half the time. I'd go down south and then come north in the summer. About 2020, 21, my sister said, "Hey, what would you think about if we were to buy Mom and Dad's house from you, and maybe you build a tiny house further down on the lot, because the lot is 1.5 acres." And I talked to my daughter, and she said, "Yeah, I think that would work." And the house really was getting to be too much for me, because I'm getting to be old. I'm just about 80 years old, so the upkeep for the house was just too much. So we went ahead and she bought the house. We could not divide the property, so we put the property into a family trust. And I started the process of trying to get the septic permit. Holy buckets, what a process. It took me, just about a year, and I paid the guy right away when I started this process. So we did not get our septic tank permit until, I would say, August, something like that, of 2023. And as soon as I got that permit, Eric and Robin came up here and started building, and we had to of the growing prices and expense of building a home these days, a lot more people are going to prefab or manufactured homes as a more affordable way to the nomad way of life. I had seen all these shed houses and everything like that, and I thought that might be a cheap way to build a house.
Manufactured modular homes now. There's also shed builders, companies that build. You see them on the streets. As you're driving through a lot of towns, on a corner with all the cool little buildings and she sheds and all the different kind of shed buildings you can have. Well, more and more of those companies are also expanding their operations a little more and more to build small homes, tiny homes, and those can cost anywhere from $80 to $120, $140 a square foot. So you're still talking, a pretty good chunk of change, but definitely cheaper than having a custom stick-built home.
Well, in Montana, there is no cheap way to build a house, no matter what you do. So, but this was the least expensive of what we could do. and it cost considerably less than what a stick-built house would cost. And our builder did a fine job. He let Eric and Robin go down and insulate, and he put in the rough-in plumbing and the rough-in electrical for the price that we got, which was not bad. This is 16 by 52, and we got it for $71.5, I think. And that's pretty darn good.
Smaller homes. Again, being a manufactured builder, you've got everything in one place. You can do it in the luxury of a building or a large warehouse, so you're out of the weather. You can buy your materials at a lot cheaper rate because you're buying in bulk. And so they can keep the rates quite low for shed building. And so that's one of the big reasons why Terry ended up choosing a shed building company.
When I had moved into the house, I had a little pop-up camper, and I parked it in the trees about where my bedroom is sitting right now in the house. And there has always been this break in the trees right here, and I would always say, you know, if I could ever have a tiny house, I would build it right here because the view is so beautiful. It is just gorgeous. We get the most wonderful rainbows, and everything is just the perfect spot. So that's why this house ended up here.
Cutting some foam and looked up from my work, and that's what I see. Pretty nice work site. That's Joe, our neighbor horse. And those are the mountains leading up to Glacier National Park over there, right up through there.
So in this instance, she chose a 16 by 52 foot, I believe, structure built. They will do a 16 by 26 foot building. And so basically she was able to just double the length on it. And that's how she ended up with this size and footprint of the house. Ended up being, it's about 780 square feet. That's the part that you saw on the crane last week. You can buy a home like that and, you know, put it on footings and just be done and be good to go. And if you 780 square feet is enough for you. Again, it's a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, nice big kitchen and living area, a laundry room area. And those can all be customized to whatever your liking are, whatever you want it. So in the course of doing some research about this, there's a handy dandy website called Autodesk that you can get on there and basically look state by state at average cost per square foot of building a single family dwellings, residential dwellings. Here right now in the state of Montana, it's actually $318,000 is the average for a 2,000 square foot residence. So again, with all in on this one, Terry's thinking it'll end up being around 200,000 total for everything. So still quite a bit less than the average, but it'll be worth probably as much or more than one of those other fancy stick-built homes. So it can have a real benefit for the long term, especially if you have some skills and abilities to do a bunch of the work yourself. Terry's doing staining on a lot of the materials for me and prepping a lot of stuff for me, parts and materials. And she's actually going to do a lot of the trim carpentry details, even upstairs and some other spots around the house. So I'm kind of handling all of the sort of the bigger, heavier stuff that she doesn't want to wrestle with. Flooring as well, you know, kneeling and jumping up and down to do flooring and that kind of thing. So if you can handle a lot of some of those labors yourself, you can really knock down the cost overall. Well, there you have it. So yeah, if you're in the market for building yourself a home and you like tiny homes, and those are also, you know, a real similar sort of a thing. You can just scale it down a little bit if you're able to live in a small space. This is a little bigger than a tiny home, but it's, you know, smaller than your average typical residence in the out there these days. If you like small or smaller living and a simple way of living, it's definitely a good way to go. So if you found this useful, make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell to make sure that you keep track of everything that comes out as we bring them out. Next week we'll be back to more of the actual building of the house and show you what happened after the house got delivered and put on top of the foundation and the lower level that I built. So thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.